So this is another painting by the same painter. Now you can very clearly see that in the background there is a sea, then there is a sky, not in terms of too much of detail. In terms of the sky, the clouds and other things are not happening over there, but still you can feel that there is a what do you call, just a moment, these people wake up always late in their life. Okay, so the same painter but a different kind of painting. Now here you see the detail of his coat first of all, and then you see his tie and other things and buttons and all that, and then you see face is being covered by the apple, and then on the side you could see a little bit of a eyes peeping out. So how you would narrate a painting like this? So painting consists of a man in an overcoat and a bowler hat standing in front of a short wall, behind which is the sea and a cloudy sky. The man's face is largely obscured by a hovering green apple. However, the man's eyes can be seen peeking over the edge of the apple. Another subtle feature is that the man's left arm appears to bend backward at the elbow. So these are the some physical description of a painting. Now, when you need to interpret, you could have a simple painting like this. You could have a simple explanation that at least it hides the face partly. First thing is that it do not hide the face completely. Yesterday, what we discussed was the wheel completely covered the faces. Here, it is partly being covered by the, so covering element is still there. There, the complete wheel is there. Here, it is, you can't still identify the person. If I ask you who is this man, if I show you the photograph in a different pose and different color, different cloth, you will not be able to identify. So that's another thing which you need to be little careful, that is it being identifiable despite being the fact that it is face is partly hidden? No. So you have the apparent face, the apple, hiding the visible but hidden, the face of the person. So there is a virtual versus real. So virtual is, and real is the apple, and virtual face is basically what we call it as a man's face. So it is something that happens constantly. Everything we see hides another thing. We always want to see what is hidden by what we see. Now, this is also a way of creating a depth. Yesterday, I talked about the perspective. So how do you feel that any painting or any photograph has a perspective? How do you feel the depth? So depth is by overlapping of one object by another. When you see in your day-to-day life, you would see that the objects are being overlapped. Some person is there, behind that something is there, behind that something is overlapping. So overlapping means some part of it will be seen and some part of it will not be seen. So that is a way of creating a perspective over there. So here, since there is a sea, since there is a clouds, since there is a small little wall in front of which he is standing, so you could feel the depth in this particular photograph. So we can say that this is a three-dimensional photograph, or a painting rather, not the photograph, but a painting where you could feel the depth in the image. And obviously it is a vertical image, unlike yesterday's image, which was a horizontal. So that's a liberty a painter would take, whether he would like to have a vertical or whether he would like to have a horizontal image. Then there is an interest in that which is hidden and which is visible. The moment something is hidden, you become more curious. Yesterday also I mentioned to you that people are more interested when something is being hidden. So that's why in a lovemaking scene particularly, it's a very low-key lighting where you don't see which part of the body is where. You have some little bit idea. You pay strain to your eyes to look into the screen so that you could notice some more detail in the shadow area. So that's beauty of hidden part. So anything which is hidden gives you little more curiosity. So this interest can take the form of a quite intense feeling, a sort of conflict, one might say, between the visible and that is hidden, and the visible that is present. So there are two kind of visible, one which is hidden and one which is present. So there is a kind of a conflict. Conflict in the sense, something you are able to notice and something you are not able to notice. So that's another simple painting, but again a little, I would say, overlapping business, the hiding business, what was there in the previous one, which was more complex in terms of the nature. Now this painting, if you look at it by the same artist, has a much more interesting phenomena happening. So if you look at the foreground, which is the half 50% of the frame, you see it is a dark evening, more or less, which is being, or you may like to call it as a night also. Why? Because the foreground street is not very clear, and there is a lamp post. Then inside you see the windows which are being lit from the inside, and the green lines of the tree. And then after that you see the sky and cloud. Now, how it is possible that in the evening or late evening, or almost I would say night, cloud will be seen with a bright sky? It's not possible. So here again the same element of surrealism, which I discussed last time. There's something which is not normal. So in a painting you will not find the clouds in the night painting. So that's an interesting thing in this particular photograph. And also a kind of a source lighting is there. In terms of the lighting, if you need to describe it, there is a source lighting. The source is the lamp post on the street. Then the source is the window which are being lit from inside of the house. That is also the source over here. So you can see left two windows on the top, three windows, one from the left, two from the front, and the 2.5 window on the right side. So these are the source of lighting in the painting. So I would say that the intriguing oil painting displays a beautiful house lit up by its interior lights and surrounded by the darkness of the night. It's the first observation. Then with no fantastic element other than the single paradoxical combination of day and night. There's a term for day for night, which is a Truffaut's film also, which means in the day you can shoot and create a night. So it also gives me a feeling of day for night. That, but again, when you shoot this thing in a day, the sky will not be included. That's most important part as a cinematographer. When you shoot day for night, what are the important? This is important for cinematography student, not for you. But when you shoot a day for night, what does it mean? It means you shoot in the day, but you are shooting to give a feeling as if it is a night. So when you shoot day for night, you will never have that much area given to the sky, because sky will be too bright and it will still give the feeling of day. So we avoid the sky until unless you crop it, and in the post-production you go and make it more darker. So if you don't want to do post-production, you have to exclude the sky and rest of the part you need to include. So that's what we call day for night. So this is especially surreal is that the sky above the house and tree line is a daytime sky full of brightness and pulp white clouds. It is a serene, mysterious scene. Why mysterious? Because the foreground, lot of darkness is there, while in the top part, I would say 50% of the top part, it is a cloud floating in the sky. So this is in brief, and just to sum up, what is represented in a picture is what is visible to the eye. It is the thing or things that had to be thought of. Thus, what is represented in the picture are the things I thought of. To be precise, a nocturnal landscape. Nocturnal means basically where these animals like ullu, chamkadad, they can start seeing it. In the night landscape, we can say, and a skyscape such as can be seen in a broad daylight, which is on the top. So landscape suggests that night and the skyscape day. The evocation of the night and day seems to have the power to surprise and delight us. It may be called visual poetry. Why we call it as a visual poetry? Because in a poetry there is no logic. अब आप पोइट्री कोई भी पढ़ेंगे तो उसमें चांद सितारे, आंखों में किसी को चांद नजर आ रहा है, किसी को कुछ नजर आ रहा है. So it is more of a comparative study. It is more of a alankar we call it as in Hindi. I don't know what you will say in English. So it's a very poetic in the sense where the meaning will not be literal. कि भाई कोई बोले दिन में ये कैसे नाइट हो गया आगे का पोर्शन, और नाइट था तो ये पीछे स्काई कैसे आ गया, how the clouds came over there. So logic is being demystified, and that's why we could call it as a poetry, because it is a dealing with the not with the words but with the visual. So we can preferably call it as a visual poetry. Now we get into another domain. It is parallel to the thing. So far, FTI has not asked the poster analysis, but anything which is not being asked so far does not mean it will not be asked in the future. So I have picked up an Indian poster. First time when I saw it, I did not notice it, but later on I noticed that the film star, which is a fashionable model, is crying. If you look at the tears at the cheek over there, they are flowing from the ears. But because of the flash of photographer, which you can see in the eyes of the glasses, you don't notice these tears. So that's a very beautiful photograph, poster, which I come across in Indian cinema. Very often you will not find such kind of posters. At least I pay a lot of attention to the poster, but I never found it. There may be one or two, but again, they are little copy from here and there. So this I found it a bit original in the sense where the director or a poster designer has given a thought. Now we move to the most interesting image which I encountered in the posters is the Silence of the Lambs, a very, very important film, Judy Foster and Anthony Hopkins. And if you look at it carefully on the poster, you see the eyes are not the normal color. They are matching with the colors of this moth, and also the this orangish kind of a feel in the Silence of the Lamb. And then you see a little grain on the face of the Judy Foster, and then there's a black side part over there, and on the mouth, instead of lips, you feel it is a moth. Now it is not a butterfly. There's a difference between a butterfly and a moth. I'll go a little bit deep into that. So this is original image of the moth, and then if you look into the zoom of the image of the poster, then it become like this. If you go a little more closer, then you feel that this is this skull thing which is being formulated over there is actually not the skull, but it is a combination of roughly around 7 women's formulated in a such a manner that it become a skull. Okay, so you go a little further from where this idea came now. The whole thing is how the idea would have come in the mind of a poster designer, or maybe the director who would have given the brief to a poster designer. There is some subconsciously something is working in your mind, and at some point it comes out. So I'll go a little further. Now look at this photograph. Is the same photograph of these nude women's formulating into a structure which becomes a skull. And the guy on the right side is Salvador Dali, one of the founder of surrealistic movement in Europe. So there is a history behind this particular image. So I would get into that history also. So first is these are the images you need to remember in terms of to understand this particular poster. So technically, the instinct in front of the Judy Foster slip of the poster Silence of the Lamb movie is not a butterfly, but covered by a moth. But not any kind of moth. There's a difference. When you study this particular species, then you will find out this is called the death head hawk moth, because the head is like a skull over there. That's why this particular term is being coined for this kind of a moth. Is one on the poster as well as in the movie. The moth acquired that name because of the pattern on its thorax that looks like a human skull. The thorax is a mid-section of the insect body. I've just given you explanation. You don't need to give this explanation to the examiner. I'm just explaining it to you in case if you do not happen to know this thing, because the technical part. So it holds the head, legs, wings, and abdomen. So these are the things, the central part which connect the rest of the body of this thing. So why moths are so dangerous? Because they are considered dangerous to human and also for pets, because they contaminate the food. They generate some kind of saliva, because of which the food get contaminated if they sit over there. So consuming of moth infested food can lead to a intestine disease, and that's why this is considered as a little deadly, if you would like to call it as a small insect, not the butterfly, but definitely. So the technical term for this kind of species is moth. Now let's get into the film. Now if you have not seen the film, then it is difficult for you to answer, but as I said that the FTI expects certain Hollywood Oscar winning films, and which were talked about into that particular year, and a film like this which was also released into the cinema hall in India. So they expect you to know about these kind of things. So till you do not know a story, don't try to attempt it, you can't. So there is some kind of a referencing I would say is required, until unless you can't attempt. You will never be able to attempt it. You can keep guessing it, but I would say guesswork will not help in certain things. Understanding is required. So this character called Buffalo Bill's desire to change and transform like a moth is the driving force behind everything he does. So driving force means like an engine in a train. That's a driving force. So how does it moves further? I will explain now. So the moth on the cover poster has two meanings. Meaning number one, which is a literal meaning. Dr. Hannibal Lecter says that the significance of the moths is change. To Clarice, when she tells him that during Frederica's postmortem examination on one of the Buffalo Bill's victim, government investigating official finds an object lodged in the victim's mouth. He removes it, it's a brown pupa, he cuts it open and revealing a moth. So that is a physical connection over there in the entire film. Then we'll move a little more further. We later discover that the Buffalo Bill has a pupa breeding room at his home where thousands of butterflies is not a right word, and the moth flutter around. Buffalo Bill was severely abused. Now there's a history behind it, why he does it like that. Was severely abused as a child, and he wants to change, at least he thinks so. He thinks so that he does. He thinks he is a transsexual, hence what he is doing with his victim. So there is another meaning which is very figurative. The serial killer Buffalo Bill has an obsession with moths because they represent what he wants for himself. He wants to peel off women's skin to fulfill his own transgender desperation. So that's another meaning to the idea that how this thing is happening over there. So you can say that the skull model built up by the naked woman interpret Bill's desire quite well. Moths begin as a caterpillar, but then enter a cocoon and emerges as fully formed moth. So this is a process which we all have studied in the 7th or 6th standard. So it's nothing new about it, but why he's saying it? Because there is a process, he has a analogy in the film. So he's a man who wants to become a woman but was denied a sex change operation. Now he murders women and collect their skins to create a woman's suit, a cocoon for himself, which he can use it to become a woman. When you enlarge the image of the moth on the movie poster, you will notice a skull pattern on its back, where a group of 7 naked women arranged to look like a skull. The 7 women symbolizes the victims in the movie. Now, how this idea came, I told you already. So there's a little bit more history about the Dali and this photographer, from where the idea would have come for sure. The skull pattern is not just any old skull, but an allusion to the photographic artwork. There's a book by this name called In Voluptuous Moss, which is basically photographer Philip Holzman is one of the important photographer in the 50s, 40s, when this time was there. So he shot it in collaboration with Dali. The title is In Voluptuous Moss, is a French name. Could possibly be translated to say, in pleasure there is a death. Now this is a very, very important term. In pleasure there is a death, or translated as voluptuous death. Now there is no voluptuous death is there, but that's what the translation is, which means in the sex there is the death part is included, because these nude women are arranged in such a manner so that you feel that it is a skull basically. Either way, the symbolize is trying to link sex and death in some way or other, and which does a great job in creating a creepy atmosphere for a horror film. Now, if you look into a little more deeper in the process of how the human being is born and then finally it dies, if you look into that sense. So basically, the day you are born, slowly, slowly, you are also approaching toward the death. So in some way or another, they are connected in a metaphorical language, not in a day-to-day language, but they are connected. So history of this photograph, because they wanted to have a book. So Halsman decided that among them, there should also be a photographer of a nude, photograph of a nude. So Halsman thought of overwhelming the public with the sheer number of nudes, and he suggested Dali that maybe they should try to do a Temptation of St. Anthony. Is a painting which many people have attempted. If you Google it, Temptation of St. Anthony, you will figure it out how many people attempted in the painting. Dali said no, as it is already being done to that. Next day, Dali phoned him and told that Halsman suggested had inspired him to draw a skull composed of 7 nudes. Dali said that in voluptuousness, there is always a idea of death. So this is a little historical thing connected with photograph, how a photograph was framed and formulated and thought of, and finally that photograph become popular. And to those who are into photography of the well-known saloon photograph, we call it as a saloon photographer, which means these people used to display their photographs into the galleries, and people would, of course, not as big money as you will get it for a auction of a painting of $10,000, $20,000, but yes, $5,000, $10,000, up to $10,000, people used to buy the photograph of these big photographers of that time. So this is in brief about this particular poster. Now I am moving to something which is very, very fascinating, but you may not have encountered this kind of poster of this particular film. Though there is a cinema hall release of this film called Parasite, has a different kind of poster where you see a stripe of eye on eyes, you see a stripe thing. That I will send it to you for tomorrow's homework, because it's not me only. When I come here for 1 hour class, I prepare for 3 hours or 4 hours sometime, because once I do it, then it is, I don't need to prepare again. That's an advantage for me. So, but one time I have to invest my 3 to 4 hours in preparing a PPT of 60 slides, so that I will not while away your time. So now you have to look at it poster very, very carefully. I have prepared around 12 to 14 points, and that I'm going to discuss in the next 30 minutes. Okay. So there is something called mirror image. We have encountered very often, we call it as a mirror image. So here the designer of the poster has used the idea of a mirror image, but it is not the exact replica of mirror image. The beauty of this thing is he has displaced the mirror image in terms of the positioning of variety of characters which are below and above. First. Second thing is that there is a color scheme, while in a mirror image, colors remain same because it is a replica. So though it is a mirror image, but the color scheme has changed. Position of the characters has changed. 2. 3. The background has changed. Background has changed. 4th, color scheme. If I have not repeated, so color scheme, position of the characters opposite to them in their mirror image, and obviously the colors and other objects they are carrying. So he has done modification in terms of many things. So we'll go one by one. This image I have used on the top so that you keep referring, but this is the maximum enlargement I could show it. In the next slides, there will be always a small. So if I ask you, for example, not you people have to answer right now because I would be talking about this. This kind of a question in the examination, a question comes. For example, now tell me about like the way earlier describe about your observation about this poster. They will not give you 2 images; they will give you 1 image, because once you reverse it, it become like this. So describe about your observations about this poster. So what kind of observation you would be able to tell to the examiner? Look, sir, this is what I have observed about this. So depend upon the marks, you need to tell it and the time allocated. So the film is all about the, now those people, sometime, if you have not seen the film, you will not be able to answer it properly. That's very, very important. And that's why this film is expected to be seen by anyone who is appearing for FTI Pune, and don't give the excuses that I am in a Bihar and Bihar don't have this and Darbhanga don't have that and Patna don't have that. No, we are not interested. Sorry. So you can't bring your excuses of government school and Patna and this and that. This is an Oscar-winning film which has got the 4 Oscars, and not only that, the Palme d'Or winner, and was released all over the world, except in a country like India, which may not be very interested about this, but I suppose it was released in India also. So the film is all about the class divide, which is clearly depicting in the poster. Why class means, when we talk about the class, so when you have seen the film, now you try to connect the element of this poster with the film. That's what you have to do. So in the film, there is a class. One is a working class, which is living in a poor areas, and then there is a rich family, which is living in a big apartment. Not apartment, but a kothi in a Indian sense of the term. A very rich class family with his husband, wife, and then there's a son and a daughter. Here is also the 4 people, 4:4 basically. But again, there's a lot of difference in the characterization. We call it as a characterization in terms of the performance, in terms of the script writing. So many things are there. So the film is all about the class divide, which is clearly depicted in the poster. Why? Because some people are going up and some people are going down. If you look into the dimension of the diagonal, some people are going up, some people are going down. In a one poster I am talking about. You pick up any poster, which is, so some people are going up, some people are going down. So if I assume that the rich people are on the top, then the rest of the people are into the downward side. So that's diagonal composition of the thing, and there's an up diagonal over there. If you notice it carefully, I will just go back to the again original poster. For the people who are going up, there is still going up over there. Okay, try to understand the difference. But the people who are going down don't have no space to go up. But the people who are going up, they have another ladder which is still taking them to the more higher side. So that's a very interesting aspect which I have not mentioned into the somehow in my discussion in the text, but at least it struck me over here. But even if it exists over here, like here, it is not very prominently displayed in terms of the in this particular slide. If you notice it carefully, so they have paralleled it with this, but in this particular case, here it finishes with this particular color scheme of the, call it as a cream or whatever. So that's one thing. Now the color contrast between them shows their different world. They are one are living in a kind of a poor family, small house, small where they are together, but that's a big house in terms of their space. So color, if you look into the color scheme, the brighter color are given, which we call it as a high key colors to the rich family, which is a greenish or asmani is the term, and darker shade of that. And same is opposite of that is the for the poor family, the red and darker red. So that's how you distinguish. So poor is bleak and rich is vibrant. The color combination of the two situations is very apparent, from a soothing blue to an uncomfortable red, synonyms to their existence. Because their existence, people, the poor family who get employed into the rich family are really uncomfortable. They are looking for a job, they are unemployed. So they have a difficult existence. Then the cloth shows the difference between both the families as well as the gadgets they are holding. So you could also come to know like the lady is carrying a dog, small doggy over there, so which is a kind of a luxury. If you can't eat yourself, how you will feed a dog, you know? So these kind of things are being shown. Then rest of the people, one of the girl is carrying this mobile over there. The boy is also carrying mobile, so you can connect why the mobile is required for both of them to connect with each other. So those who have seen the film, they can connect easily. The shadow of the staircase for rich is going up, whereas for poor it is going down, meant the rich gets richer and poor gets poorer. This is a very famous statement. Rich gets richer and poor gets poorer. So now there are a couple of things in one particular domain, which I have marked as A and B. One can see that the family portrait of the rich family. If you look into the back side of this original image, there is a portrait of the family here, which is being taken from the film itself. And also this painting, which was made by this little kid who was mentally disturbed because he saw one day somebody coming out from the basement over there. The not basement, but there is a particular term called bunker. Bunker is a place where many people during the Nazis' time used to hide for themselves, for military people. I suppose it is still used in some sense of the term. So here you could see one can see the family portrait for the rich family, means they are always together and get together like party. In the end, they have a party over there. Earlier, they have a small get together. They go out for a picnic, which obviously get failed. But when they come back, they plan to have a party at their house. So it's more of happiness for them. And while nothing in the case of poor, the poor looks like they are in a basement, whereas the rich is in a well-furnished home, signifying their living condition. Now you look at the background also, which I have explained somewhere. On the top part, you see the 3 lights are hanging over there, and then there is a painting on the wall with the texture over there. But when you look at the poor people's below there, who are the red, there is a pipe over there, there is some AC ka thing is there. So it is not very furnished and thing like that. So the poster can be seen from both the angles. Another point is the poster can be seen from both the angles, that one you post it and the one we ups and down. एक जो poster है जो publicity के लिए post किया गया था, and once we ups and down we could see another one. The poor at the top and the rich at the bottom, or poor can be on the top, and if we do upside down, and will it be just the virtual word for that? Now try to understand this thing. I'm connecting it with the political scenario of Delhi politics. Congress, which ruled this country, not only ruled this country for many, many years, also ruled Delhi for 15 years consistently. Then the tomato and onion became 50 rupees pav or something like that, and poor people could not even have their little chonk in their dal, and everybody was upset with the ruling of the Congress, though Congress did many things. But that was one of the reasons. The common denominator got upset and they were really pissed with the Congress government, and they threw it out. So the people who are in power, people who are rich, they were ups and down. Almost 70 seats in Delhi, not even a single seat was given to the Congress. Why I'm finding the political analogy to make you understand it better. So similarly, these people also, for in a virtual world, which is not actually for a long lasting for them, they also become a kind of a owner in the film. Once they go out, the owner of the film goes out of the owner of the apartment goes out, rich family, for a outing, for a camping, and these people have a party over there. They try to think that they are the owner and drink and have a mess up, and a lot of fun happens over there. So they can also it's also trying to say that the virtual world or a poor people can also ups and down, and can turn the whole scenario, maybe for a few years, like the voter can do it for a 5 years, they do it for a 1 hour or 2 hour or for a few hours, I would say. And the moment they realize they have come back, they again go back to their they hide behind the sofa, the bed, and other things. So this is a very interesting case of ups and down, how the poorer ups and down, though it is a virtual world for them, not a real world, but they can do it. The picture has a clear divide between the status of the families involved, clearly indicating by their ascent and descent. It's very simple. Richer will become more and more richer, poorer will become poorer and poorer. And the same mirror image of the staircase. Staircase को किस तरीके से इस्तेमाल किया उन लोगों ने, that's really interesting. The ascent and descent of the two families is a visual representation of the juxtaposition of the image that gave rise to the climax of the film. Very, very important thing to notice. Those who have seen the film, they will be able to understand better. Kim family goes down the secret staircase, and Park family coming back from the failed picnic plan. So going down to just discover something which is a secret, but again, it is the real world in which they are also living in their own surface level over there in their real houses. Now here there is a kind of a basement, which is basically I use that term called bunker. Correct. So the bunker was there. So since it was the architecture's earlier architecture's architect bungalow which was sold to them, so these people didn't know. He didn't tell them because that lady was still working over there, who came along with the this bungalow. So maybe that would have been the reason, so that she would still work over there. So like rich family is seen moving upward, and also in a virtual image, they are also seen moving upward, which can be interpreted as a poor family also want to achieve and move upward. Because in a virtual world, when we say virtual world, you need to understand the meaning very clearly. That when you are playing a game on a computer, you are not riding on a car or a horse or whatever it is, or train or something else, but you feel that as if you are really into it. You just go into the ride and things like that. And now virtual reality has become more big. There are some glasses which has invented by this company called Carl Zeiss and other things, which are into the lens manufacturing. So this virtual thing, once you wear that that kind of covered glass, you really feel that you are riding something, and roller coaster or whatever kind of programming is there. So in a virtual world, you can feel anything, but once you come back to the real world, you realize that it is for a momentary, for 10 minutes or 5 minutes. So the virtual and real is very, very important. That's what they try to interpret here. So in the movie, as we all know, the parasite, which can be read from both the angles, the text part. Here the text of the film, if you see the first image, which I have shown you over there, whether it is ups and down or whether it is this sound, you can still see the parasite written very clearly, which can be read from the both the angle, which actually signifies how both the families are similar to parasite and depending upon each other. When both from both the side, when you can read it, so this idea is become more clarified, because they also want to have them. It's not that rich people can live without poor. They need the servants in their house to do this thing. Somebody is a driver over there. Somebody is a tutor to his daughter. So someone or other is required to run their family. So they are also a parasite in a different language, but depend upon how you interpret it. As I said earlier also, the beauty of this film is that in an art as such, basically, there are multiple interpretations. So the same image can be interpreted in a different ways. Now, rich who are in a blue and green. Now, this is something very important to notice. Both the families are moving towards up as so as to catch the light reflection. Now, I will show you the original. First, let me read the text and I'll show you the image. Catch the light's reflection on their bodies and the objects. Rich have the red reflections and poor have the creamy reflection. Now, I'll show you the photograph again and I'll remember this is 52. Okay. So, if you, let me just zoom in a little bit more to give you a little idea. Let me just move a little bit. 300%. Okay, guys. So you see that reflection of this hanging light. I will ask you a question in the end. That is, hanging light is creating a reflection. We call it as a highlight in a cinematography or photography language, which is catching by this lady, then catching by this husband, then by daughter, and by little son. Okay. Now here, when we go here, the lamp is missing, right? But you still have this highlight on this character of father, wife, daughter, and son. They are still catching the highlight, but the lamp is missing. Okay. And to give the contrast and to give the feel of that highlight, the art director or the designer of the poster has picked up the color from the below thing and he has used that as a highlight. While for this, he has picked up the color of not red, but this light yellow, because to create a highlight on the character on a dark shade, you need a lighter color. So he picked up the lighter color of this creamy kind of a thing, which is being displayed over here. And this same creamy thing is the source of this light over here. Now, my question, which I will ask you in the end, is that why these only one bulb is being lit and not the other two bulbs? That is my question, which I'm going to ask in the end. But let me just quickly first have the text to be discussed. Okay. So I was at a 50 slide. So the poster can be seen from both angles. One ascent descent ho gaya. 51 was the slide. The rich family is seen moving upward, and also in a virtual image, they are also seen moving upward, which can be interpreted poor family. This is also done. 52. So reflection of the light, catching the light's reflection on the bodies and the object. Rich have the red reflection and the poor have the creamy reflection. Okay. So that's one thing. The painting, one is a family picture. In the backside also you see that these two small paintings. Here over there, when the rich people are climbing on their wall, there are two paintings. So the painting, one of the family picture, which is obviously signifies the connection, which is also shown in the film. This guy is watching their family portrait. And the other, which the kid drew during the drawing class. So both the paintings are also displayed over here, which is a kind of a luxury for rich people to have a painting on the wall. While on their wall of these poor people, you see this AC ka thing outside and this pipes going left, right, and wire going here and there. So again, coming to the slide number 53, the background signifies the type of lives they are living. Rich have a neat and clean background, whereas the poor have a dirty background with an AC condenser and a pipes going up over there. Now we come to the objects. They are carrying what kind of object they are carrying. The mobile phone, only two of them can be seen holding and using mobile phones, and poor boy and the rich girl. Now, since you have seen the film, so you know how they are connected through the mobile. You can easily guess what that means and how it is related. Coming to this another detail, there are other things like as well, like the lady holding a dog, which is a sign of a rich people, They always carried a dog. Not always, I would say. Sometimes they have a dog at their home. Sometimes they take the dog into their car also. Dog is some kind of a friend to them in some way or other. There is a sign of a little upper class thing also. The man holding a magazine with a film by Bong Joon-ho written on it. If you zoom into the painting, the Indian tribe clothes that Anglo-Indian thing they become in the end. These people who at the birthday party of that boy, and the poor girl holding peach, because peach is a very important element in the film. If you have seen the film, and the poor boy with the rock who is somewhere similar to that rock, because in the film also his friend gave him a rock which is a symbol of luck and thing like that. But here he has used these elements in the poster. The order in which the families are standing, very very important thing to notice. When the rich people are moving up, you see the lady first, then the husband, then the girl, and then this little retarded boy who need little more attention. But when it is the other way around, it is a man first, then it is a wife, then the girl, and the boy, which is age wise. If you look into there, it is a age wise in terms of the elderly father and then wife and then this thing. But the rich lady is the leading one in terms of the another image. The last one, the character who have similar correspondingly opposite position in the first and last place. Very, very important thing to notice. If you compare from the left to right, are the character from the two families whose interaction happen in that order. First, the rich lady interact with that boy. Then this another couple, the lady comes over there. Then this boy and girl, and then this another thing. The son and Mr. Park had the first interaction, giving rise to the chain of events, and Kim and little boy had the last interaction on his birthday, if you recollect, which thereafter collapsed into a gory climax because there is a stabbing happening and thing like that. And the name of the director is very skillfully placed as a prop carried by one of the characters over there.